Okay, so hi everybody. So yeah, a lot of you know me as Mo. Well, my real name is actually Mariodie, just so you know. I'm finally presenting to all of you guys the work that we did develop for the salmonid species of aquafang, which are Atlantic salmon and rainbow trout. So I'm really glad to present today because I spend almost all my time on the aquafang project. So I'm really glad to do that today. So the first thing I wanted, or we wanted to highlight is to thank all our collaborators for this amazing project that we did between salmonids. So a lot of different partners of aquafang has been involved in the development of this project. And actually, you will have after me also 3 other talks that I will present briefly about this same project, Salmonid. So thank you for all this common effort for this amazing project. So the project goal, mostly, of course, it's linked to the project goal of aquafang, of course, was to produce and to understand genomic regulation through ontogeny, and also following this specific whole genome duplication, as you can see here, which did happen in the salmonid lineage specific group. So which cover and Atlantic salmon and rainbow trout. And it happened about 100 million years ago. And what happens after this whole genome duplication lineage-specific event is that after rediploidization of the species, we still have a high level of genome parts, around 60% of the genome, has still stayed in double copy in the genome. So as you can see here from the publication from Sibyun in 2016, that there is a very huge chunk of chromosomes which are in double copy, but in 2 different locations in the genome. And this is for Atlantic salmon, but we can find the same thing for rainbow trout. So the output of this huge collaboration was, so first of all, of course, to produce this novel functional annotation and to understand the genome regulation, which happened after this whole genome duplication through ontology and also in terms of evolution. Because by studying this whole genome duplication in salmonid, we might understand the several runs of duplication which did happen in vertebrates. At Alcom, we want to overlap, of course, this annotation with different genetic variations, such as SNP and structural variants, to help the community of breeder companies and industry to understand better the relationship between the genotype and the phenotype to enhance sustainable aquaculture in the future. So the goal of aquafang, of course. So this is to come back a little bit of what Matthew did present this morning. So this is the full sequencing data set that have been generated between the 2 species, Atlantic salmon and rainbow trout, DevMap and ModiVav. So we have overall, oh shoot, it's what is starting. We have an overall of more than 1,000 sequencing data set which has been generated. And today I can say that all those data are available in ENA and in Fang Data Portal. So thanks to also the support of the Fang Data Portal that Emilie has introduced earlier. In terms of timing, so of course now we are really grateful that Ensemble has generated this functional annotation and will extend it for all the species in aquafang. However, in our timeline, it was a little bit late, so we have decided to use NF core pipelines, so either for RNA, chip, and ATAC data set to generate our proper functional annotation. So now the goal is also going to be an internal work also between us and Garcia and Gabriela and Peter team to find out what are the similarity and the discordance between those two annotations. However, in our work for the Salmonid, we will work and we will develop our point of studies with our proper functional annotations that we generate with NF-core. So this is the overall generation of functional annotations that we did and how we did summarize all this annotation through the tool Chrome HMM to annotate the regulatory element in Salmonid species. So for this, we have really put a lot of effort on developing a single and a common annotation for either Atlantic salmon and report rod and for DevMap and BodyMap samples. So this is what we can see. So we have different profile of attack, H3K27 acetylation, H3K4 monomethyl, H3K4 trimethyl, and H3K27 trimethylation signals in sheep, in DevMap and in BodyMap, and we categorize a total of 12 different chromatic states, going from the active TSS regions to the quiescent regions, which are completely empty of MAP, of course, passing by accessible chromatin and Respres polycomb domains. So this is just to visualize a little bit the coverage of these different annotations through all the data sets. So this is only for salmon, Atlantic salmon. So here is in the different stage of DevMap, and here for each tissue, for male and female, which are immature, and male and female, which are mature. So as you can see, we have most of it are quite similar to each other. However, we can see that there is a little bit of difference between the different sexes and or the different maturity stage. Yes, so, yes. So the talk which will come just after me, sorry Diego, I just found a really old picture of you. But so it's gonna to be a talk from Diego, which is trying to reply to the question how the organism is dealing with this full genome duplication. So he took out the mRNA-seq data, and he applied different methods of clusterization, and he analyzed also the trajectory of the gene expression during embryogenesis and in tissue, and tried to understand what is happening in Salmonid, especially in ontology. So he will present you that. Manu did a lot of work on the comparative regulomics. So he will give you a talk where he tried to explain what are the mechanisms which took place on the two species to deal still with this whole genome duplication. So I will certainly talk about the genome alignment and the categorization of these different regulatory elements between the duplicated genes. And also it will give you more insight about the effect of conserved non-coding elements. And finally, Gareth will give you an explanation or trying to look at what are the link between the gene expression and the regulatory element, and he will show you which tool or development of analysis he did created to try to understand this question, to analyze if there is a correlation or not between this gene expression and the regulatory element that we found out. Yeah, so these are the three persons which will speak after me. So me, what I wanted to do is to present also another set of data that we did produce during this collaboration. So the first one is about how duplicated genes are expressed and how they are expressed also between the two species. So if we look at here, so we can have like, of course, 2 copies. Not all of genes are induplicated. So over 60–70%. So for Atlantic salmon, here they are colored in light blue. So you have the copy 1 and the copy 2, and the copy of rainbow trout, copy 1 and copy 2. After this salmon-specific whole genome duplication and some speciation of function. So if we cluster the expression of those 4 copies that we call a tetrad, if we look at their expression level between the 2 copies of each species, we can create an overall of 4 categories. So the first category are the genes, the copy of genes that are behaving the same way, either compared to the copy or the species. The second category are the ones which are expressing the same way in the same species, but not between the 2 species. There is the category 3, which can be either for specific to Atlantic salmon or to rainbow trout. So as you can see here, this copy in Atlantic salmon is expressing a different way, so it's just the color is indicating the level of expression, right? Or the copy in rainbow trout is not expressed at the same level as the other copy. And finally, we have a divergent group from the ancestral species, where the copy 1 of the copy 1 in Atlantic salmon and rainbow trout are behaving the same way, while on the other end, the copy 2 of Atlantic salmon and rainbow trout are behaving differently to the first 2 copies. So now we try to understand if there is a correlation between those patterns of expression and some regulatory elements around it. So the work that has been mostly done by Pooran was to investigate the TFBS, so transcription factor binding site, which were present under the attack peaks that we did determine with NF-core pipeline. So it's just an example here of different transcription factor binding site, and I tried to align between the 2 species the same type of transcription factor binding site. And that you can see during the embryogenesis, blue means that they are not used, while red, they are becoming to be used. So the chromatin is open, and we have access to the transcription factor binding site, which is under it. We can see that overall, we have a quite similar behavior between Atlantic salmon and rainbow trout usage of transcription factor binding site. However, as you can see here on the total number of transcription factor binding sites that we can find a common but also divergent between the 2 species at one time point, is that some of them can be specific to rainbow trout, here in pink, while some others can be specific to Atlantic salmon. And we did repeated this work and for the promoter-like attack peaks, so the attack peak which were landing on the regions where it was annotated promoter, and also on the regions that are enhancer-like regions. Okay, so an extra analysis that we did. I'm good on time? Yes, good. So the extra work that we did was since this whole genome duplication event has happened several times, 2 times actually, in vertebrates, and that the hypothesis is that this brings us a body shape changes which did help the evolution of vertebrates. And since this event in Anamodus species is supposed to be linked to the effect of migration of Atlantic salmon and rainbow trout, we did investigate the OX cluster, so the group of OX cluster in Atlantic salmon and rainbow trout. So here, each box corresponds to a gene which is present at each position, so 1 to 13. So, and here it's like the different clusters, so A, B, C, D, with the result of the first duplication at the level of telehost, A or B, and then the second duplication that we have specific to salmonid, we did write them alpha and beta. So as you can see here, the link, again. So the line which are pink are the one connected to rainbow trout, and the blue one under is the one directly similar in Atlantic salmon. So for most of them, and if you look at the expression of the gene during ontogeny, we don't have so much differences, except for one, which is this one, OXRB. So actually here we can see that we have, well, an intact copy alpha for both species, while the copy beta is actually a little bit present in Atlantic salmon, but completely absent in rainbow trout. So we hypothesize that this can be really a pressure selection which happened here to not maintain this copy. So this is quite interesting also. Yeah, so to go through just a last point, so just to bring up the fact that we are working now with Ensemble to find out what are the differences between NF Core pipeline and their pipeline. Here is a, sorry. So here is just the 4 copy of one gene, which is MyoD. And so if we look on one of those regions, so this is from Ensemble early access, we can see so this different region as the one which are categorized as active enhancer, but in different tissue sex, so it's muscle female, muscle both sex, muscle female here, and those 2 enhancers seems to be used only in embryo stages. But actually what is really interesting for the industry, the industry partner, is that if we overlap the variants which are actually used, you can see that a lot of these blue dots here are really overlapping a lot with the regulatory element. So meaning that there is a really powerful tool to use, which is regulatory elements, to really improve the selection, the breeding selection. Yeah, so to finish, I actually use the slide of Dan also, like Emily. So so now the goal of all this project is also to overlap our regulatory elements to the genetic variant dataset, such as SNP or even structural variants, to be able to narrow down some specific trait of selection in breeding companies, to improve sustainability and better profitable aquaculture, of course, with all the goals that Emily mentioned earlier this morning. Yeah, so that's it. So thanks, everybody. So these are like the direct collaborators again, which are named, but also, thanks Aquafong. So it has been a long time to work in this project, and again, I'm really happy to have shared this with you. Thanks.